Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio and we're live, so get involved in the chat and the comments. There's loads of stories to get through. And if you're not doing already, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't be, but if you're not, if you are one of the few that isn't, subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers by, I don't know, by the start of next season. Do you reckon we could do that? When does the season start? Middle of August? I reckon we could, you know. I reckon we absolutely blitz it. We can get to 800,000 subscribers by the time Manchester United start their title charge in August. Loads of people in the comments already. We've got some stories to go through. We're going to talk about Mason Greenwood, as you may have gathered from the thumbnail, that he's been linked with Marseille. David Ornstein, no less, has said that, so there must be something in that because the Oracle has spoken. Also, Joshua Zirkzee, loads of stories, reports, rumours, whatever you want to call them, doing the rounds about Zirkzee, the Bologna striker we've been linked with, so we'll give you an update on that. Also, you may be forgiven for thinking this is 2019, but we have been linked with Paulo Dybala again, plus several PSG stars, apparently. And also, United have gone all Manchester City and started going through the legal route of trying to get things done with this Todibo transfer. So we'll get into that as well. Loads of people in the comments already. Good to see Santa Notch in there. Says, methinks you're in my kitchen this morning. No, I'm in the studio. Ross Murphy says, morning, Jay. Kevin Aitchen says, morning, Jay. Eyebrows are looking great as always. Yes, we were a little bit late because I was obviously, you can see, I was just sorting my eyebrows out. Happy days. Idio says, man like Jay. Vicky says, morning. Good morning, everyone. Manchester Maverick, morning, Jay. Lad. Loads of people say morning. Sean says, Jay, Mostyn loves you. Listen, if Mostyn's got you back, you're all right. Do you know what I'm saying? Also, Marge Bimpson says, Jay, the GOAT. Loving all that love. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood then, because it's not, I won't say it's becoming a saga now, but I feel like we're talking about him quite a lot because we had him last night. We spoke about him last night quite a lot because there was these rumours about what's going to happen with him. I think Dave McDonald had done a story yesterday saying, look, if United can't get a buyer for him, he's going to have to come back to the club for training for pre-season because he's still a Manchester United player. What are they going to do otherwise? You can't just not do something with him. You're going to have to sort of address this issue because it is an issue. Let's have it right. Ornstein's done a tweet this morning. You can see it there. I think this was, 10:05. So it's pretty new. It says, exclusive, Marseille exploring deal to sign Mason Greenwood from Man United. Club talks at early stage and finances not yet discussed. Positive dialogue between Marseille and 22-year-old forward. Thoughts to favour them over other options at present. Now, I said this last night. I think United obviously don't want to bring Mason Greenwood back to the club. That is one thing we all know. Because if they did, they would have done it. They wouldn't be trying the hardest to sell him to whoever have him. Marseille, I think Atletico have been linked with him. I think Juve at one point might have been linked with him. Or also, I think, was it Lazio perhaps? Getafe, maybe there's talking going back there on loan or some sort of permanent deal. Doesn't look like they can afford him. Manchester United do not want to bring Mason Greenwood back to the club. That's one thing we know. And you know why that is? Because of what happened. Now, the whole scenario and situation has been handled badly by Manchester United, I feel. Because what Manchester United basically did just before he went to Getafe, when it got leaked that he was going to be brought back into the squad, you remember that because Adam Crafton, I think, from The Athletic and one or two others ran it. I think Adam Crafton was leading the way on that. This story that United were ready to bring Mason Greenwood back. There was a big pushback by a lot of prominent United fans and by members of the staff, from what we hear as well. Even politicians were tweeting about it. Not that I'm taking much notice of what they say, but you can understand why there was this sort of feeling towards Mason Greenwood coming back to Manchester United. And the club released these statements. There was a statement by Richard Arnold, a statement by the club, and a statement by Mason Greenwood that obviously the club had signed off or someone had written on his behalf and it had been signed off. And I thought those statements were terrible. Because what those statements basically said, well, he hadn't done out wrong, but it's probably best he don't come back to the club anyway. Which didn't make any sense to me. It was like United were trying to say, sort of, look, the kid's completely innocent of what you might think he's done, but we can't have him back at the club. But that's not his fault, so we're just going to send him out on loan somewhere. It didn't address the issue. It didn't deal with anything. It just sort of pushed the problem or kicked the can further down the road. And sooner or later, they were going to have to decide what they wanted to do with Mason Greenwood permanently, whether that was to give him a permanent move or to bring him back to Manchester United. Now, I was saying last night, if you can't get the fee for him, maybe you just have to either lower your price or just let him go on a free transfer. Not a popular idea. I doubt Ineos would be willing to do that because they're not just going to write off 30, 40 million quid or whatever. But if you don't think Mason Greenwood can play for your football club because of moral issues, which is what we gather it would be, then let him go then. Or bring him back. You either bring him back or you let him go. If you think he's not done anything wrong, then you bring him back. But obviously you don't think that because they haven't. So let him go then if you can't get a buyer. It looks like Marseille may have given Manchester United a get-out clause, if you will, where we can sell him to Marseille. Take the hit if you have to on his fee. Even if you do some sort of deal where it's like, look, it's a low payment up front. If he hits mad numbers, then you have to give us more money. But if you're giving us more money, that means he's smashing it at your club, so everyone's happy. We need to deal with this Mason Greenwood issue, and it is an issue because it's dragging on now. Whether you like or whether you think Mason Greenwood should be back at Manchester United or not, he is still a Manchester United player, and the club have a duty of care to do something with him. They can't just say, oh, we're just going to leave him in limbo. They have to address it, and they have to do something with Mason Greenwood. And let's not forget as well, there's a lot of people who don't want to see Mason Greenwood back at the club, and I understand that. And I've said a million times, I think it's probably best for all concerned if he moves on. But there will be other players, there will be people looking at it going, well, what are they doing with Mason Greenwood? How are they handling him? Like, what's going on here? They need to sort that out. So it needs to be addressed. According to Ornstein, Olympique Marseille coming in, this could be a way of just resolving this issue, getting some money for him, investing that money hopefully back into the team, and moving forward, because it's just become one big sorry saga. And I don't want to keep going on about it, but I will give people the right to get involved. Akash K says, Marseille never paid more than 30 million for any player in their history. Are they going to start doing that now? Or could it be a staggered deal that enables them to do that? Boss says, if Branthwaite is 70 million, Greenwood is at least that. Brian Case says, morning Jay, hopefully this Mason Greenwood deal happens. All three sides want it to happen, and it's what's best for all involved. I mean, we just need it sorting, don't we? Because it's just been dragging on and on and on and on. Nothing was resolved with those statements, with the sort of the rumours and the reports, and even sending him to Getafe didn't really sort anything out. It just sort of postponed dealing with it. Whitterbird Vicky says, is it Parker weather? No, it's not Parker weather at all. I've left my Parker at home. Stephanie Griffiths in the chat as well. Akash K also says, take the money and run. Let's talk about Joshua Zirkzee, because our mate Dharmesh Seth, who's on this channel quite a lot, is going to be back, I think, next week, giving us an update. He's been speaking on his Transfer Talk podcast, and he says Manchester United, the only issue with signing Joshua Zirkzee is basically the personal terms, and he feels like the deal is edging forward. So that's positive news, innit? Because the Joshua Zirkzee deal looks like something that can be done. You can see there's a little bit more meat on the bones here. It says, one source has told me that a potential move from Bologna to Manchester United is edging forward. It doesn't mean he will necessarily become Manchester United players. That should be player. There's still plenty of work to do before that deal can get over the line. What we do know is United are willing to meet that €40 million release clause, and they're not in discussions with Zirkzee's representatives. That's where the crux of this is going to be, whether they can agree personal terms and other bits with the representatives as well. Add to that, there are other clubs interested in him. Arsenal were linked. We thought AC Milan would be a done deal in the summer, but that hasn't materialised. Maybe United saw that as an opportunity. It doesn't cost an inordinate amount of money. He's a good young, why do I keep pluralising things? He's a good young player. What's going on? Who's written this? The profile of player they're looking for. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I know loads about Joshua Zirkzee, that I get home every night and I watch Bologna. I don't. But it kind of seems to make sense, this deal, because he's a player who scored quite a few goals. I think it was 11 in Serie A last season. He would be a backup for me to Rasmus Højlund. If you're going to get a backup to Rasmus Højlund, you're not going to go out and spend 100 million quid on someone who's going to be a backup to Rasmus Højlund. I think Rasmus Højlund deserves to start for Manchester United next season. I think he had a very positive first season. It wasn't perfect. There was a big chunk of it where he wasn't scoring in the Premier League, but he did get quite a few goals. He did score some good goals as well, and you can see what he's about. Even when he's not scoring, he's a handful. He's got skills. He can hold the ball up. He can link up play well. I really like Rasmus Højlund, and I think to bring someone in, it would be a backup. I don't think you're replacing him, unless, face fact, two strikers. Those days are gone, aren't they? The York and Cole era is well and truly over. Very rarely you see two out-and-out strikers linking up together or starting together. It could happen. I'm not saying, never say never, but I don't see it. So Zirkzee would fit the bill. However, we'll have to wait and see, because according to Dharmesh, and I take him, I believe what he's saying, there's not really been anything concrete just yet. It's edging forward. But if we can get that deal done for €40 million, that's not a bad start to the transfer window. Let me know what you think. Santa Not says, if plurals are wrong, then so is a Panini. Laughing to himself. Akash K says 4-4-2 needs to come back. I used to love 4-4-2. My favourite ever Manchester United team, I'm not saying it was the best, it was my favourite, was the 1993-94 team, where it was just 4-4-2. You had Kanchelskis, you had Giggs, you had Keane, I think you had Ince, you had Hughes and Cannona up front, and you had like Bruce Pallister, Irwin and Parker, and then Schmeichel and goal. It was just a team that was just had everything. Pace, strength, skill, could get stuck in. It was just a joy to watch. And there was loads of sort of end-to-end games where United would always emerge victorious. I absolutely loved it. And now and again, we batter teams as well. So yeah, those are my favourite team. That was my favourite team. Don't think 4-4-2 is going to make a reappearance. But if it does, then Joshua Zirkzee can link up with Rasmus Højlund. Let's talk about Paulo Dybala. Paulo Dybala interest remains as bosses face Mason Greenwood dilemma. We've already spoken about the Mason Greenwood dilemma, but it looks like United could be back in for Paulo Dybala. I mean, United have been linked with Paulo Dybala for about 5 years. Let's just have a look what he's been up to, Dybala, because I sort of lose track. So, as it stands, I mean, he's 30 years old. We know he can sort of operate in different areas as well. Last season, I mean, he does get you goals. Last season, 13 goals in Serie A. Can't be ignored. 16 in all competitions. Decent return that. He only started 28 games, or played 28 games. So it's a good return, and he is a good player. Can I see this happening? Possibly, but I don't think it will. It says here there, Paulo Dybala is a summer target for the club, with Ten Hag understood to be driving the club's interest in the Argentine. United were previously linked with a move to Dybala when he was on Juventus' books, but he's since moved to Roma. Italian newspaper Il Messaggero, understand that the front man is yet to hold talks over a new contract at the Stadio Olimpico. Sorry, I'm getting everything wrong, which would rid of his 10 million release clause. Okay, if that's what it is, 10 million release clause, it makes sense. Is he up to it? Do you think he could come into the Premier League and do a job? Let me know what you think, because I like Dybala. He's a good player, innit? I just wonder whether that ship has sailed. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a time when you thought Dybala to United made sense. It was probably going to happen. Now it's not. I don't know. Maybe. I'm a bit on the fence with this one. I don't actually think it will happen. Whether I think it should happen, I'd probably edge towards no. Gaz Newton says, if we are getting rid of Greenwood, can we get Anthony to FK off as well? John Sander says, it's United, we will always be linked with thousands of players. We will, and we are. That's true. Antel says, get Ivan Zamorano. Do you remember him when he was at Inter? Manchester Maverick says, Dybala is a classic Woodward signing. He'd want 300k a week and we wouldn't fit him in the team. Stay well clear of him. Yeah. Akash K also says, Jay, he has a bad injury record. Let's look at his appearances. You can always just, 28 Serie A games last season, 25 the season before, 29 the season before, 20 the season before that. It's not ideal, is it? I just don't see this one happening, to be honest with you. And I think we probably shouldn't take a gamble on Paulo Dybala now, because I do agree with that point about his wages. His wages will be quite expensive. I don't think he's going to be on. He'll want a big chunk of change to come to Manchester United, and I think he would actually expect at least 300k a week. So yeah, I don't see this one happening. Let's talk about several PSG stars. So this is in the evening news. Manuel Ugarte has been one of the main links to United this week. The Uruguay midfielder has emerged as a potential target, with the Old Trafford club looking to add some reinforcements in the centre of the park, with doubts over Casemiro's future. At 23, Ugarte has a lot to offer, and it seems PSG could be willing sellers, though the player's agent says there have been a number of clubs showing interest. Now, football transfer journalist Fabrizio Romano claims that Ugarte isn't the only target United have at the French club. He said Manuel Ugarte has chances to leave PSG in the summer. The club is open to selling him in case of a good proposal. Manchester United made contact with PSG. Talks were on several players and possibilities, including Ugarte. No bid has been submitted. I mean, there looks like there could be something in there, in this one, with, what's that? Breaking news? Oh, right, sorry. Do you know what I thought that said at the bottom then? I thought it said Ugarte warning as certain procedures taking place in Manchester hotel rooms. I thought, what? What's he doing in Manchester hotel rooms? Having certain procedures? But it's not. It's an urgent warning. It's completely irrelevant to this story, so forgive me. Listen, I'm beginning to like this Ugarte link. I'm beginning to drink the Kool-Aid. I think that he could do a job at Manchester United. And I'm basing that on my extensive knowledge of him from watching some YouTube clips. Now, I think he kind of fits the bill of a ball winner. I think we need a ball winner in that DM role. And he's someone who can do that. He can get hold of the ball and give it to a Kobe Mainoo or give it to a Bruno Fernandes and let them work their magic. And I think that's what Manchester United need. Casemiro, for me, is done. I think he is. You may disagree. By all means, get involved in the comments. I think we're seeing the decline of Casemiro. I don't think he just had a bad season last season. I think this is a player whose powers are waning. So I think bringing someone in who can put a foot in, get hold of the ball and give it to his teammates is just the ideal type of player. I think he can get him for a reasonable price as well. He's not going to cost something silly. Let me know what you think. Ronaldo9 says, I'm live for the first time. Thank you. Where have you been? Daniel Berry says, Ugarte loan with option to buy. That is Stan Marsh, South Park meme. Akash K says, Jay, is it true the opening bid for Ugarte was 25 million? I think we're hearing different sort of reports saying different things about Ugarte. I think Ben Jacobs says there was an opening bid. Others saying that we're just monitoring. It's a bit confusing as to what has actually happened. Brian Casey says, Jay, women's captain Katie Zellum confirmed as leaving the club. That's the women's team finished. Disgusting from the club. Let's just have a quick look at that. I mean, it's not been great, has it, for the women's team? I think, yep, I've just seen that. All for United, I've just tweeted it. Manchester United confirmed the departure of captain Katie Zellum, one of the OGs who came back to play for United in the Championship season. A true leader on and off the pitch. This is from All for United. We have these on the channel quite a lot. The good guys. We will miss you, Zell. Go and smash it at your new club. All the best, Skipper. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the women's team. It doesn't feel like it's a priority for Ineos. And if you are going to have a women's team at Manchester United, and I think you should, definitely agree with that. I went to see them last season. You know, it's always good to take the kids as well, especially my daughters. They like to watch the women's team. I'm not just saying it's just girls who watch the women's team, but it's nice for them to see women playing for Manchester United, obviously. I think if you are going to do it, you should do it properly. And it doesn't feel like United are doing it properly at all. I don't know why. I don't know why not. Why? How much money do you have to invest in a women's team compared to what Manchester United invest in other areas to make it a success, to make it competitive? We should have a women's team. Well, Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, for Pete's sake. Why have we not got a women's team competing? Well, we have got a women's team, so why don't we make them competitive then? Because they have been. And I think that's almost in spite of the way they've been back rather than because of. Obviously won the FA Cup. So, for me, I think you should put some money in. I think it's a bit of a tap-in for Ineos. They just don't seem to be feeling it. And there's all this talk of the women being moved from the facilities they're using to some port cabins or something while Carrington's being done up. It doesn't look great, does it, from a Manchester United point of view? So we'll have to wait and see. A full-named Huggy says, here. Daniel Berry says, Marseille are a big club and just appointed De Zerbi. Don't see us getting 40 million. We have no leverage. John Sanders says, let's fix the men's first. No. You can do both. I don't think you have to do, we'll sort the women's team out after we fix the men's team. Do you know how long it's going to take to fix the men's team? For starters, it's going to take a couple of years at least. And also, it's not like you've got two teams that need hundreds of millions of pounds investing in them. You've got one team that probably does need some major surgery, open heart surgery, as Ralph Radnick said. And you've got another team, women's team, that if you to spend around, I don't know, let's say, for example, I'm pulling this figure out there, 5 million quid. That would make a big difference. And for a club like Manchester United, we should be able to do that. But when you hear stories about Ineos saying that the staff can't travel down to Wembley on a freebie and all that sort of stuff, you think the cutting costs, is this part of it? They just go, well, the women's team, it's not cost effective, whatever. The mind boggles for me that Manchester United acts this way, especially under this new Ineos ownership as well. I know it's part ownership, but they're running the football side of things and also everything, to be honest with you. John Sanders says, fair point, thank you. Yeah, it annoys me, it really does. Let's talk about Jean-Claire Todibo. United's different approach to complete Todibo deal. We had this last night. It's a bit of an update here in Evening News. Journalist Sacha Tagliafieri reports that Ineos have appointed a Swiss lawyer to fight their battle over UEFA's decision to block Todibo's move to United. The centre-back was one of Nice's star men last season, and a move for a defender is high on United's list of priorities this summer. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, I'd like to see Todibo come to Manchester United. It looks like it could be ideal. It's a bit frustrating that he's a player that you could probably get. Like, I get that if it wasn't for this UEFA ruling about multi-club ownership when you've got players in the same competition, well, United have got in the Champions League. we'd have him. But United are not giving up. I said this last night. I said, if I'm Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I don't want it to look like United aren't getting a player that we want and that could do a job for Manchester United because of my ownership. Because that's a negative look on me. It's like, well, we could have got that talented young centre-back, but because you own United, we can't. Because people go, well, we're getting him because of Jim Ratcliffe. No, I don't think we are. I think you could get him anyway. I think if Manchester United scouted this player and wanted him from Nice, and Jim Ratcliffe wasn't associated with Nice, you could go and get him. Because Nice are a club that will sell players. So it's a little bit annoying. I mean, John Sandler says, yeah, nice price as well. Akash K says, how much will the Swiss lawyer want as a legal fee? I wonder. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Ronaldo 9 says, we appreciate your work, Jay. I appreciate you guys as well. Ross Murphy says, how about we don't play him in the Europa? Could that be a solution? Look, we'll buy him and we'll sign a deal that we don't play him in the Europa League. I wouldn't even mind that, to be honest with you, if that's enough to get him over the deal over the line. I mean, it's not ideal, but I'd rather, if he's that good, I'd rather get a good player and have him than not get him, if that makes sense. Ridwan says, but we wanted Todibo before Ineos. This is the thing. We've been linked with him for a while now. He's a player that's been linked with Manchester United for a couple of years. He obviously can do a job in an area where we need strengthening. He ticks all the boxes. He fits the bill and all that jazz. Why can't we get him? Because this stupid UEFA ruling that many people circumnavigate as well. All these UEFA rulings, people find loopholes and ways around them. We've seen it now. We've seen it with all these Premier League clubs selling players to each other, selling kids to each other. We've seen it before with City and what they're doing with Girona, and a player goes there and then he goes there and then he ends up at City. We saw it when they signed Frank Lampard after he'd signed for New York City. And then it was like, actually, he's not. He's signed for Manchester City. I know it's different because New York City and Manchester City aren't in the same competition, but you get my point. Joe Corcoran says there's loads of defenders out there. There are. I don't know if this kid is the one, but if he is the one, I'd like to see him at Manchester United. Santa Notch has also said, would the idea of not playing him in the Europa continue with any season? Both clubs play in the same comp. Yeah, that seems to be the issue. Boss says, is Todibo any good? I've not seen a lot of him. From what I have seen, he's a very good player. And from what people who I respect say about him, he is a decent young lad and someone who would do a job for Manchester United Football Club. I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to be back later on with Off the Bat, me, McCullough, Howson and Smith. So make sure, if you're not doing already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.